It's time for a Hot 97 Morning Show special investigative report. We're sitting here with a young man by the name of Marcus Jeter.
He's retiring after this season. And
no, that's Derek Jeter, and they're not related.
What?
Yes.
What the hell am I doing here?
No, you're here because this young man was just put in a bit of a quagmire, a pickle, because... Well, start your story, Marcus. You're from Bloomfield, New Jersey, and you had a run-in with the cops, but they were lying.
Yeah. I'm really from East Orange, originally. I live in Bloomfield now. It started with one night I was coming home from the club.
You're a DJ.
I'm a DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your DJ name?
Instagram at @1DJ Nugget, the number one DJ Nugget.
Of course it is.
DJ Nugget.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you had to get popping this way, but fortunately, you got out of the predicament. But you coming home from the club.
All right, take us through it.
Coming home from the club. Me and my girlfriend get in an argument, late night club stuff. You know how it go. It got a little heated, extra. Nothing physical. Her little sister was downstairs, and she heard us arguing, so she had called the cops. The cops get to the house, and as they're in the front door, I'm going out the back door. My girl opens the door and tells the cops, we had an argument. My little sister called. It was nothing serious. He's actually leaving. She was referring to me. As I'm coming down the driveway, I went out the back door. I'm driving down the driveway.
Now, did you go out the back door because the cops were at the front?
Well, I was going out the back door as they were coming in the front.
So you wasn't running from the cops?
No, I wasn't running from the cops. My car was in the back. We got a driveway that goes to the back. So,
okay.
I get in the truck. I coming down the driveway, and I see the officers at the end of the driveway. So the officer stops me, and he says, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." Now, at the same time, the one officer is stopping me. There's another officer at the door talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, he's everything's cool. He was just leaving. Nothing crazy." My little sister called. It was nothing crazy. So
and real quick, your guys' fight was intense, but it wasn't like. This wasn't the end of the relationship or anything. And she knew that. She knew this was just a bad fight.
Yeah, it was just a bad fight. Nothing physical. We've been together for a long time. It
was just one of those nights.
One of those nights. And as I'm at the end of the driveway, the cop says to me, "Are you good?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." He says, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." He says, "You sure? You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm leaving. I just want to get out of here. Just don't want to be in the house right now." So he's like, "Okay." And he turns around and walks away.
Okay. So
I said, "Okay, fine." And I took off down the driveway, pulled out, made a left out the driveway, and proceeded, on my way.
Perfect.
And, it's a little wild. I had to make a couple of turns to get onto the parkway. The parkway is not too far from the house. I get on the parkway, and as I'm on the parkway, I just see some police lights coming up behind me. So once the cop gets right behind me and I realize he's pulling me over, I pulled over.
Not speeding. You're not speeding?
I wasn't speeding.
And by the way, Marcus Jeter's here. This is on the video, so
you can see all this on the video.
Not the him leaving the house.
Right.
Actually, no.
Yeah,
you can see them leaving the house on the police cams. And they're not following him. And then you see them pulling him over on the parkway.
Okay, so they pull you over.
So they pulled me over on the parkway, and the first thing I do, I went to roll the window down, thinking they're gonna ask me for my license registration, stuff like that. As soon as I go turn my head to look out the window, I see the cop has a gun pointed at me.
What?
So as soon as he did that, I'm sitting there arguing. I'm like, "Hey, put your gun away." It's like, "You just pulling me over. You're not asking me for my license registration, nothing." And he's like, "Get the fuck out the car." I can say that, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
They're like, "Get out the car, get out the car." So as I'm sitting in there, I said, "No, I'm not getting out the car." I rolled the window back up, and I said, "Call my lawyer." I put my hands up, and the funny thing was, I had my phone in my hand, and I dropped my phone because as I look to the right, I see the other officer with a shotgun pointed at me. So I dropped the phone while my hands was up in the car because I didn't want them, to start thinking it was something else.
Yeah, don't get confused. It's just the
phone.
Samsung Galaxy or something.
So I dropped the phone, and I'm just sitting in there, and they they still got the guns pointed at me, and they cursing at me, telling me to get out the car. I said, "I'm not getting out the car." I said, "Call my lawyer." So as I'm sitting there, they start trying to open the doors, pull on the doors, see if they open. Nothing happens. So I guess at that point they call for backup. And as I'm sitting there, I see another car coming on the opposite side of the Garden State Parkway. The car cuts across the divider into oncoming traffic.
You see this on the camera too.
And his car's coming. He cuts across the cars, and as he's coming towards me, I'm just sitting there like he's about to hit me. And I'm kind of bracing for the impact, and he just rams in front of the car.
So this other cop cut across the freeway and rams his car while he's sitting there
While
with his hands in the air.
I was parked. I was sitting there. The two officers were standing outside the car. So
damn, isn't that almost dangerous for the officers?
It was dangerous for the officers too.
So this guy psycho rolls up, smashes into your car,
smashes into the car, and as he smashes into the car, the officer that was standing on my left just bust the window, and then they all come around, and then as they bust the window, and all glass just flew in my face, So I'm like, and then he was trying to open the door, but the door was locked. So he reached inside, and as he reached inside, he unlocked the door. Once he unlocked the door, they opened the door, and as soon as he opened the door, one of them just punched me in my face. So now I'm in the car, he hits me.
And your hands are still up.
My hands was up the whole time. He hits me like this, and I go, ah. And as soon as they did it, they tried to pull me out, and they realized my seatbelt was on. So then he reaches in, and he's reaching over me, trying to undo my seatbelt. And as he's doing that, he's elbowing me in my jaw. And he's like, stop trying to take my gun. Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. And it sounds so meditated, like.
Oh, it sounds fake, him even saying it.
It was like they practiced this just in case, what I mean?
But now on the video, you can see through the window of Marcus Jeter's car, from the police dashboard cam, from the car that rammed him.
They rammed into me.
His hands in the air, the cop leaning over him not doing anything, and the cop screaming, stop resisting arrest, stop going for my gun. So you're watching this whole thing play out.
Wow.
So as once he got the seatbelt off, they snatched me out the car, and they slammed me on the ground, and they put my head down on the concrete, and they was holding me down. And then my face was all in the glass and stuff on the ground. And at the same time, there's three of them. They big guys. So they already had my hands behind my back, and he's hit me on the top of the head, saying, "Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. Stop resisting arrest." As he hit me on the top of the head, I think he had like a flashlight or a baton, something in his hand. He was hitting me with. So once they did that and they got me up off the ground, I was handcuffed already. They slammed me on the back of the police car. And searched my pockets, took all my stuff out, and I'm just sitting there the whole time and said, I did nothing wrong. So right as he was walking me to the back of the police car to put me in the back of the police car, now mind you, I'm already handcuffed. He gives me one more blow to the head with the flashlight, whatever he had in his hand, and then he put me in the police car. So they go to the take me to the police department. I'm in the police department. They fingerprint me. They put me in the cell. Now I'm bleeding all over. I got blood all over the place. They then have some nurses come in and try to clean me up and clean my wounds out and stuff like that. Then they leave. So now I'm in the cell for the whole time. Nobody coming in. Nobody said nothing to me. Nobody bothered me. Until I guess about an hour or two later, they pulled me out to ask me some. I had to do some more questions or something like that. So as I'm sitting there now, I asked them if I could use the phone. They said, yeah, you can use the phone. And I asked them, I said, well, what am I being charged with? And they said, oh, it's something domestic. So when they let me use the phone, I called my girl. I said, well, I'm locked up. They got me in Bloomfield. And as I'm sitting on the phone with her, the officer goes, oh, that's not your girlfriend you're on the phone with. I said, why? He's like, you can't be on the phone with her because this is domestic violence. You got to hang up the phone. So he made me hang up the phone.
That's not a real law.
Exactly what I was thinking. So
that can't be real.
He made me hang up the phone, and they put me back in the cell. So I'm in the cell now. All the rest of the night, I'm just laying in there. Then towards earlier that afternoon, two new officers that's on, I guess the shift change, come to transport me to the county. So they come into the cell, and they have my bag. You can see where my property was in it, and I seen that they had my insurance card and my registration card in there. So I said to the officer, I say, it was like a veteran officer. He had tattoos all over, his arm and stuff. I said, can I have somebody come pick my property up from here? Because I seen that if they towed my truck, I knew that if they towed my truck, they would have to have, my girl would have to have the insurance card and registration to get it out, the pound. Yeah. And he goes, oh no, we don't let nobody do that. We don't let nobody do that. I said, okay, fine, no problem. So he put me in a police car, and the officer that was driving, he was like a rookie. So as he puts me in first, and he gets in the car, the driver's seat, and the other officer, the vet, he's over by the boxes trying to get their guns out, whatever. And as I'm sitting in the police car, the rookie turns around, he says, yo, what did you do last night? And I looked at him like, what do you mean, what did I do? I said, what do you charge me with? And then as I'm saying that to him, the vet officer gets in the car, and he turns around and he says to me, he says, I heard you got beat up before Bloomfield got there last night. This is what he says to me. And I said, your fellow officers beat me up. He says, nah, we wouldn't do that. Bloomfield wouldn't do that. And I said, all right, I ain't saying nothing else. And I sat in the car. They took me down to the county. Now I was so beat up and bad looking that when I got to the county, they walked me into the door. The COs that was sitting at the desk looked at me and said, "Did you go to the hospital?" I said, "No, I didn't go to the hospital." And he looked to the two officers. He said, "Did you guys take him to the hospital?" And they said, "Oh no, he signed a refusal." So then they looked at me and said, "Did you sign a refusal?" I said, "I never signed nothing." So as they were standing there, they called the CO called the nurse and the doctor from the county, and they came over and they started checking me out and they said, "Oh, we can't take him in because he has to go to the hospital first and they have to get cleared from the hospital before we can take him in." So as I'm sitting there, the nurse and doctor checking me out, and then the officers will go. They say, "Oh well, we're gonna have him fax over a copy of the letter that he signed to not go to the hospital." So we was there for about 5-10 minutes, and they couldn't get, for some reason,
you hadn't signed it.
They couldn't
didn't exist. So.
Yeah, they couldn't get the paper where I signed for refusing to do that. So they the doctor says, "Oh, you got to take him." So now I already knew that it was going to be an issue. I felt like, okay, now they're going to be all upset and whatever. So we get back in the police car, and as soon as we get in the police car, the veteran officer turns around. He says, "You fucking pussy, you gay prick, you know what you're doing. You just don't want to sit in the cell for these extra 2 hours. You know what the fuck you doing." And I'm just sitting there, and I ain't say nothing. So he took me to the hospital. They did the x-rays, and they did all this stuff. And my ear kept bleeding. They couldn't stop my ear from bleeding. So we were in there for about an hour and a half, and he's pacing around the whole time, like, "Oh, this is some bullshit. This is some bullshit." So as we right when the doctor wanted to give me a stitch in my ear, he goes, "Well, it's time to go. We can't wait for this any longer." So she's like, "Well, he needs a stitch. It keeps bleeding." And he says, "Well, is there anything else you can do?" So she says, "Okay, we can give you a liquid stitch in his ear, and once it heals, it'll fall off, So that's what she did, and they rushed me back to the county, dropped me off, and that was it. And I was down there for about 2.5-3 days. They charged me with eluding. They charged me with resisting arrest, assault on an officer, trying to disarm an officer.
Whoa. You were busy that night.
I was busy.
Going ham. You were going ham.
The reason we're doing this special report is because now evidence has surfaced from the dashboard cams. We're here with Marcus Jeter, who was almost behind bars on some serious charges. The dashboard cams have come out from the Bloomfield
So how did
police.
that come out? How did those come out?
So, well, okay, so I get bailed out. They told me my bail was $30,000, so they had to go get a bonds. I get bailed out. The day I get bailed out, I have a couple of friends that are officers in East Orange Police Department. I gave him a call. I said, "Listen, this is what happened. What do you think I should do?" So one of my good friends, he said, "Listen, this is what you have to do." He says, "Call the Essex County Internal Affairs Division. Tell them your story." He said, "They're going to tell you have to call the municipality that it happened at also, but tell them your story first. And then when they tell you to call the municipality, then you call them, you tell them the story also." So that's the first thing I did. So I called down to Essex County. I told them the story. They said, "Okay, cool. We took a note of your story. Now you have to call Bloomfield and report the story with their internal affairs because that's what happened." So I did that too. I called internal affairs. The guy sat over the phone and I told him the whole story, and he was typing and writing at the same time. And it was things that I was saying to him that he was like, it was almost like he already knew the story, but he didn't know some of the things I was saying as far as the cop car coming across the divider hitting me. It was like, oh, it was a shock to him, like he didn't know that happened. So I told all of this. So he said, "Okay, we're going to do an investigation, and we'll let you know, what happens after that." So the next day I go get a lawyer. And I told my lawyer the story, and nobody believed me. It was just a crazy story.
No, the story is
insane. It's insane.
It was just like, all of this was happening and nobody was believing me. So we got a letter about a week later from the internal affairs. He says, "Okay, we're doing an investigation. We'll let you know how the investigation goes." Fine, no problem. We go to court the first time. Lawyer asks for discovery. They give us some discovery, not all of it. They give me a new date to go to court the following month. That following time we go, after we had the discovery we had, we still didn't have some of the evidence. So we had to go, ask them again, the prosecutors, we need more discovery. We need to know, some of the police reports, some of that. Like,
so
it was some stuff
who asked
missing.
for the dashboard cameras? Because that was
this was the kicker. The kicker was right almost a month later, we get another letter from Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs from Bloomfield. They say, the lieutenant investigating the case, he says, "Oh, we found no wrongdoing in the Bloomfield Police Department. All the officers were justified in what they did, blah, blah, blah. No wrongdoing." Okay, fine. Investigation is over. That's what they said. No more. I say about a year into the case, we had the one tape, the tape from behind the car. So when I got my first plea, the plea was 5 years. This was what the prosecution gave me. 5 years with the tape from behind the car. So they were saying that the officers were justified in doing what they were doing because I was trying to take his gun and I assaulted the officer while I was inside the car.
And because that cop car was from behind, you couldn't see that your hands were up and all this other thing.
So they were trying to base the story off, okay, well, if you were hitting him in the car trying to take his gun inside the car when he pulled you out and he was beating you up, they were justified for doing that, you know. And that was the whole thing. So they offered me 5 years, and this prosecutor would not come off this 5 years. So every month I was going to court, and we were trying to figure out ways to get around this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she's like, well, you can go to trial. You go to trial. Now you're looking at, you know, the max time, 8 to 10 years if you're found guilty, you know. And even with this tape, this is what she was offering me 5 years as a plea. So we're sitting in my lawyer's office one day, and me and my lawyer going through the papers work, and he notices there's a log sheet for the videotapes, right? Because when the incident happens, they have to take the tapes out of each car. That was 3 cars, but there was only 2 cars had video going.
Mm-hmm. Talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So you had the one tape, a detective signed for, and that was the tape that we had in our possession. Then there's another tape, somebody signed for it, but we didn't have that tape. So he's like, well, we got to bring this up, you know. So he took that paper. We went to court that following time, and as we're in court, he says to the prosecutor, he says, listen, he says, there's another videotape, and it shows in our log. No, she goes, oh, what do you mean? You know, we got all evidence. He says, no, there's another videotape. So he shows the paper, mm-hmm. and she sees, okay, well, maybe we got to try to find this discovery. Mm-hmm. So he says, okay, go ahead, get discovery. She gives another court date. When he leaves court that day, my lawyer's a great lawyer, Stephen Brown, out of East Orange. He leaves court, and he says, I'm going to put in an Oprah request. That's public information.
Wait, Oprah got something to do with it?
It's an Oprah
movie. No wonder you got off.
But it's something called an Oprah request where it's public information, and if you have to request it, and they have to give it to you. And what happened was he put it through to the Bloomfield Police Department, and it just so happens that they had the tape, and he was able to get the tape. So now he got the tape. We go to court. Now he didn't even watch the tape yet. We go to court, and the prosecutor, you know, they call us up, and he says to the prosecutor, he says, were you able to get that other piece of tape evidence? And she says, oh, well, we tried, and they said it's no longer available. He looks at her, and he pulls it out of his jacket, and he says, look, I got the tape right here.
And lying in court. What's her name?
Her name was Nancy Hirsch.
Mm-hmm.
That was
lying
the prosecutor
in the court. Bloomfield, New Jersey. Lying in court.
So she said, oh, well, we have to review this tape, you know, and she told the judge, you know, we need some more time to review it. So we go downstairs and we pop the tape in, and this is a tape from the
car that cut across the freeway, ran into your car, and is looking straight through the front window.
And the first thing you see when the car hits me, you see my hands up like this. And
you must have been sitting there smiling.
I was sitting there smiling, and she goes, oh, well, I still don't see when they hit him, and I can't really tell, out.
Just keep watching the tape,
hold on, just keep watching, and he slows it down, and then you can see how my face, you know, my head goes to the side like that. And then she goes, okay, well, this can't go to trial. This can't go to trial. We need to talk to the, you know, the officers, blah, blah, blah. And then she even tried to mention, okay, well, let's give him probation. My lawyer said, do you see this tape? If you're looking at what I'm looking at, we want all the charges to be dismissed. Because it wasn't only them charges I got. I also got like 10 tickets, driving traffic tickets, because they gave me speed, and they gave me, you know, everything that they can do.
They did.
To soup up their case to make it look better against me, you know. So, you know, she started offering probation. He said, no, we want everything dismissed. She said, well, I got to talk to my supervisor, blah, blah, blah. So they said, okay, fine. Give us another court date. They gave me another court date. We come back that following month. So I'm in court by myself. My lawyer was late. He was in another case. And as I'm sitting there, they called my name. They said, Mr. Jeter. I said, yeah, I'm here. And as I'm sitting there, there's a white guy sitting in front of me. And he turns around. He says, you're Mr. Jeter? I said, yeah, I'm Mr. Jeter. He says, where's your lawyer? I said, well, he's running late. He had another case. And then he unrolls his paper, and in the paper it says, Marcus Jeter versus State scheduled for dismissal. So I didn't know who this guy was, but I was sitting there and I started smiling. He said, come in the hallway with me. So he come in the hallway and he said, call your lawyer. I called the lawyer. Then he grabs my phone and he says who he is. He was a supervising prosecutor of Essex County. He took over the case, and he said
it's a mess.
It was a mess.
There to dead it.
He was there to dead it, and he said he didn't want this to be going any further. He said they lied about stuff in the police report. They lied about internal affairs investigation. He said there was stuff missing. He said, I'm dismissing everything, and we don't have any room in our judicial system for officers like that. That's what he said. So.
And now, what's up with those? Now, two of those officers have been
charged, and indicted. One of them, the older one, the one that had the shotgun, he was the older one. They actually gave him a plea to falsifying police evidence or tampering.
And he retired.
And they gave him legally retired, which was a giveaway, And the other two are not copping out to anything. They pled not guilty. They charged him with tampering. The one guy.
Now, who was the one that was hitting you? The Spanish one or the white one?
That was the Spanish one.
Yeah.
That was Orlando.
He looked like
Trinidad.
a black man,
yeah.
or a young Orlando Trinidad trying to make the white cops happy.
Yeah.
Beating up on black people, trying to get in good with the boys in blue.
Yeah. So they're being charged right now. They're indicted. So
And are they gonna do prison time or what's happening here? You don't know.
Right
You're
now,
just happy to be a free man.
I'm happy to be a free man because and I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of, how do you feel since I've been doing the interviews? How do you feel about the officers being indicted and blah blah blah? And in a way, I feel like okay, we got a little justice, but I'm still iffy about the legal system because the prosecutor sat right there and act like she put in 100% to to see if I was really innocent or not. It's more like they look at your background and then they go,
What's your background? You ever been in?
I had an incident. I was on PTI about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I was young. I got in a little trouble.
How old are you now?
I'm 30 now.
You're 30 years old. So at 20, you made some mistakes.
20, I made a mistake. Just
one mistake.
Yeah, one mistake.
So you got one thing on your record.
Yeah, one
and
thing.
Do you believe they saw you as an easy target?
I think they did.
And do you think it was racially motivated, or just because you were a young kid that they felt like they could zone in on?
I think it's a little bit of both,
But why they bother in the first place?
I don't know. I
you
wish
said why did they bother?
Yeah, like why? Why didn't they just let him drive away when his girl wasn't mad at him?
Because
and he gets in the car. What was the point in the beginning?
Because some police, not all, there's a lot of great police officers. Some police and some police, I guess jurisdictions or whatever, precincts, like to set a tone. And Bloomfield's a small town in Jersey. And I believe that some of these small town police, they like to be known as being tough and setting a tone. And when they can set a tone on a young man, and it may not be race, right? But they want to get out here and set a tone, and they see you as an easy target. You may not know your rights, right? You got a couple of things on your rap sheet, like Marcus right here. They don't think, because of your past, they think, oh, okay, we can treat them any type of way. Fortunately for you, they was about to do that, but because of the dashboard cams, which they're required to have on cars, that's what exonerated you.
In your mind, when they're first standing there pointing the guns, does it pop into your head that you've seen what's happened to other innocent black men in this situation before?
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped in my mind.
Like you could die. It's not like you just can think this is a mistake. They're gonna figure it out. You had to be like, no, this could really go.
This could really go wrong. Like it was the Sean Bells and the Amadous and the Rodney Kings. That this is all the stuff that you watch growing up and you hear these stories and until you're actually in that situation, it's like wow. And more importantly, it was almost like they were setting up the stage so that if they did have to shoot, they were justified. You know what I mean? Because my hands were up. He clearly knew my hands were up, and he goes, "Stop trying to grab my gun." So now
you're like, "Damn, this set me up."
They were setting up the stage so that if they did have to shoot me, it was.
Yo, and for the people watching us and listening, make sure you watch this Marcus Jeter coverage and these tapes from these dashboard cams, because I salute you. Not only did you have a great awareness because of, like you said, seeing what happened with the Rodney King stories and the Sean Bells and the Amadou Diallo stories, but now as young men, we're not as easy of a target as we once were. Right, because of dashboard cams, because we know how to act in certain that you had your hands up, you wasn't making any erratic moves. They had guns in his face, they was punching him, and he kept his composure. But the other thing I want to point out is through all of this process took how long?
Almost 2 years now.
Damn,
this was 2012.
So 2 years of your life you have spent trying to keep from going to jail for something you didn't do, and you were victorious.
It is crazy though, because then after you're sitting there with guns in your face, you had to survive that. Then you end up facing 5 years. You had to survive that. And they still got you for 2 years of your life.
And that was a tough draw too. Just hearing them say the lowest plea was 5, and I was sitting there. And
how could the
my
lowest
girl
plea be
started
5?
crying? You know, it was just crazy. You know,
and you and your girl,
and I'm trying. And now I got to live my life. You know, for the rest of these months going by, like I might really be doing 5 years. You know, and it's crazy. You know, I mean, and that was the lighter part of it, because like I said, I could have been dead. You know, I could have been those incidents where I got the bad end of the stick. You know,
what's your there's a lot of young men who go through this all the time, right?
A lot of guys.
What is your advice?
You know, you got to keep calm. You got to keep your hands up like I did. You know, I mean, the funny thing is, naturally now as black men, you are naturally taught to put your hands right up. You know, as soon as something goes on, hey, you know, I don't, you know, you try not to put yourself in situations where you don't have to be. You know, you may get racial profiling. You know, just keep calm. Try not to be, you know, a jerk. Try not to be an asshole to the cops, because you know a lot of times that can provoke stuff.
And if your older sister is having a fight with her boyfriend, go upstairs and check and make sure.
Don't just really dialing 911.
You can't just call 911. I know she just cared for her sister, but she should have opened the door and be like, "Y'all good? Oh, okay."
Yeah, domestic calls get a lot of black men in trouble.
Yeah,
a lot of men in general. You know,
you can't just jump to the domestic call because voices get loud. It has.
And on that, are you and your girl still together?
We're still together.
Man, I better lock that down.
Yeah.
You gonna marry her?
Yeah, we're gonna get married soon.
Good for you, man. And y'all ain't been in no fights, right?
Nah, we ain't been.
Y'all stopped that fighting.
Yeah, of course, you got to. I told him I'm not going to jail. It's not happening.
His name is Marcus Jeter, man. I just wanted you to be able to share your story, because it's we always hear about us dying and being blamed for things, and we're always like, nah, but we know these cops is out here doing dirty. And I remember being a young man, and police brutality, you know, where I'm from in Northern California, happened to black men a lot. And it was NWA, they used to put out the records about fuck the police and police brutality, and this was the late 80s. And it wasn't until that Rodney King incident where we was able to be like, see,
we told you all along.
And then come to find out that Rodney King at the time was drunk, and there were some other things, but he didn't deserve to be beaten like that. Yeah. So we often hear about these cases, and it's very rare that we actually, someone like yourself who got beat up but didn't get killed or didn't, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that, like the Diallo cases and other things where things got, and Sean Bell, where things, they weren't here to talk to us about it. And I just wanted to bring you up and give you a moment.
Thank you, man.
You know what I mean? And respect you. And you better have some parties, because y'all know this kid Marcus G is a DJ. That's how I found him. He was on the news, and he was smart. This guy's smart. He had a sweatshirt on, a hoodie on with his Twitter name,
which is what?
Hey, my Instagram is @1DJNugget, the number 1 DJ Nugget, and my Twitter is DJ Nugget 1125. So follow the kid, you know.
DJ Nugget 1125.
DJ Nugget 1125 on Twitter.
Pleasure, man. Thanks for coming and telling the story.
Yo, man, thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
You got it.